Hello race fans and welcome to Red Bull Ring Austria. Here we are at the start, the beginning of the new season of GT Cup Series. The 2026 campaign is just and we are going to the first endurance race of hour of really cool racing is just ahead of us. Here we are in the front row of the grid. This is the front runner. This is the car starting for the second place. Is the Austrian Marius Eigner behind the wheel of his KTM. Alongside him, let's take a look at this beautiful yellow car. Is the MP3 Ligier of the Slovakian team ARC Bratislava with the team boss Miro Konopka behind the wheel, starting the race the pole position, so it will be a cool battle of these two cars into the first corner here on Red Bull Ring. Let's follow me into the second row. I always love to show you the GT3 cars, and do we have a one here? Yes, we do. This is number 79 of Denis Svashek. Usually we can see Denis Svashek behind the wheel of his Lamborghini Cup car or racing for Scuderia Praha in 24-hour series, but right now it is Denis Svashek behind the wheel of the BMW M4 GT3. Alongside him another KTM in the white colors. In total, we do have 23 cars for the 1 hour endurance race, and we are starting in a few moments. Make sure you're joining us live. So, one more time, hello and welcome to Red Bull Ring Austria. Good afternoon, race fans joining us all around the world. I believe this is the first race of GT Cup Series 2026 season, and we are starting with the endurance race, so which means we are going to watch 1 hour long session on track full of great battles. Of course, we saw some troubles to one of the Porsche Cup cars being pushed back into the pit lane, so it looks like we are going to have only 22 cars on the grid after all, and it will be Miro Konopka, the Slovakian ever-present legend, starting the race from pole position behind the wheel of his Ligier LMP3 car with number 44. But it looks like we are going to have another lap behind the safety car, so the race start has been postponed, I believe, for some reason. Maybe there was some kind of troubles with this car. It's number 558, so it is Gerald Hofer. And the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup still in the pit lane. This, of course, it's a race weekend not only for GT Cup Series, which is the Central European Zone Championship, but also for the Austrian GT, which means we do have a large grid here on Red Bull Ring. And if I take a closer look at 558, so it is Gerald Hofer, and he is one of the competitors from Austrian GT. So this gentleman is also racing for the Austrian national title. And yes, we do have one more formation lap before the race will officially start. Actually, the race has started. We are now under the safety car procedure, and I believe next lap around, the safety car will enter the pit lane and we will be racing under the green flag, because the time is running. Actually, I told you that this is a 1 hour endurance race and the countdown has begun already. We have 58 minutes and 15 seconds to go at the moment, so the race has officially started behind the safety car, and we are waiting for the green flag here on Red Bull Ring, the home of Austrian Grand Prix. And I'm not only talking about Formula 1 but also about MotoGP, because both world major championships are taking place here. And this beautiful facility under this already world famous Bull, of course, built by Red Bull, which is the company that owns the circuit here in Styria, close to Klagenfurt, close to Graz. One of the two major circuits in Austria alongside Salzburg Ring, where the Central European Championship is also taking place traditionally, and this year is not an exception, speaking of that. So we are getting ready for the green flag. Mira Konopka is there on pole position, driving his yellow Ligier LMP3 car. Marius Eigner from Austria driving his KTM X-Bow. Alongside him, behind Konopka, it is Denis Waszek, this time driving BMW M4 GT3. So let's get ready for some racing. The lights are out and we are racing. Look at Denis Waszek trying to find his way through the inside, and Denis Waszek goes into the second place, just ahead of Mira Konopka. Eigner is the new race leader. Konopka hardly over the curbs into the run-off tarmac area outside of the furthest corner, but it was a clean start. So we are racing under the green flags. That's a good news. No need for safety car, no need for double yellow. And another hard fight between Denis Waszek and the white KTM. That should be Apollo Racing, I believe. It's a side-by-side battle between Waszek and the white KTM that is chasing him down. Look at also at the red Ferrari. That's the 4A8 GT3, still being raced by Antonin Herbeck. The incident between cars 46 and 555 is being under investigation for some reason. But just not sure if this information is correct. We do have also this great on board. This is Viktor Mraz, the Slovakian driver behind the wheel of the KTM X-Bow, entered by RTR Projects, currently in a P8. Of course, it's a 1 hour race, which means we will witness a mandatory pit stops at the halfway. Marius Eigner still in the lead, and this is the garage of ARC Bratislava. Some nervous faces inside the garage, because these guys are of course watching their team boss, and no, we do have car off the track, and it's one of the Porsche Cup cars, I believe. This is the exit from the first corner. Yes, we do have a yellow flag at the turn number 1. The car is able to continue in this race, so I believe there is no need for a safety car here. But there was some kind of accident. I'm curious if we have the replay of what's happening there. But the race goes on in the meantime. So it is still Marius Eigner in the lead ahead of another KTM. So we do have 2 KTM Expo cars leading the way at the moment with still 54 minutes to go in this race. In the second place, it's right now the number 847, and that's the crew of Johannes Duisik. Another car entered from the Austrian GT, so it's the local team. Guys know this track very well, but right now the white KTM will be under pressure from Dennis Vashek driving the BMW M4 GT3 into the third corner. Dennis Vashek is trying to find his way from the outside. So this is another look at what has happened in the first corner. Fortunately, there was no contact with the barriers, so this time we have no need for the red flag in this race. In case you've missed the previous race of Clear Cup Bohemia, the race has been ended with the red flag, and previously we had another red flag, so it was quite eventful race with 2 nasty incidents. Fortunately, all the drivers left their cars unharmed, and that's the most important news, of course. Still Marius Eigner in the lead of this race, and this is another LMP3 car in the field. And it should be the Ducane D08 driven by Thomas Ambil. That's another car starting in the B5 class. Thomas Ambil currently in a B2 in this class behind Miro Konopka, so possibly we are going to have a fight of the 2 LMP3 cars for the first place in the 5 class in this race. I need to mention this again because the overall standings are not so important in GT Cup Series. We are mostly racing for the cup, for the class wins and class podiums. That's the most important thing in GT Cup Series, because at the end of the season each class have its champion. So the drivers on the track need to look mostly after their opponents within the class. That's the most important thing, a most important rule about the GT Cup Series. And we have the same rule not only for the endurance but also for the sprint races. So this is what are we going to talk about the whole season. If I speak about the sprint races, we are going to have the first sprint race of the season tomorrow. It will be 25 minutes long, starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. But before that, we need to finish the endurance race, the first endurance of the season. We have still 50 minutes to go, and I believe there is a great battle between Marius Eigner and Dennis Vashek up in the front for the first place. But again, it's important to say that Marius Eigner is perfectly safe right now because he is leading the GTX class behind the wheel of his KTM Expo. Meanwhile, Denis Waszek is the leader of GT3 class. And for the season opener, he is the only one driver in the GT3 class, so this is a pretty safe situation for Denis Waszek and Racing Trevor. Very much familiar colors of this team and their BMWs in this championship. That is also the older one, the M6 GT3 in the garage. So let's wait and see if the car will be on track tomorrow. This is the lead battle I'm talking about. Marius Eigner in the lead ahead of the BMW. And I believe that the BMW has more speed on the straight, climbing up into the third corner. So Denis Waszek is trying to find his way ahead of Marius Eigner, but won't be an easy job for him. And behind them is another pair, the second KTM, the white car, just ahead of Miro Konopka, driving his Ligier LMP3 car in the typical yellow colors of ARC Bratislava. So within top 4 drivers, we do have 2 very experienced endurance drivers. You may know that Denis Waszek is also racing in a 24-hour series, where he partners up with Scuderia Braha, racing with Ferrari, so he is very much experienced if we speak about the Italian cars, because usually we see Denis Waszek behind the wheel of his Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo, racing in the sprint races. Plus, you have a chance to witness him racing with Ferrari GT3 in 24-hour series, and also this season, and that's the new thing, Denis Waszek behind the wheel of BMW M4 GT3 in the GT Cup series. Good to have Denis Waszek on the grid because he is quick and experienced driver. And I said we do have 2 very much experienced drivers from the endurance races within the top 4, and I believe I have very much the 2 right now, because the second driver I'm talking about is of course Miro Konopka, the racing legend from Slovakia, who took a part in Le Mans 24 hours multiple times, and he has been racing in various classes from the GT cars to LMP2 cars, and we know his team very well, the ARC Bratislava, also from the FIA World Endurance Championship, where he was racing most recently with the Oreca 07 in the LMP2 class. So what an experienced guy, what an experienced racer, and as I said, Miro Konopka is the ever-present racer at the grid of the GT Cup series within the Central European Zone Championship. So good to have Miro Konopka on the grid. Meanwhile, a great battle of the 2 Porsche 911 Cup cars, and here we have another battle. It was the Duquesne, or Norma, shall I say, in the battle for the 5th place. Yes, it was Thomas Ambil driving his Duquesne, the D08, and we saw the Mercedes GT2 just ahead of Thomas Ambil. But let's take a look here. I was talking about Miro Konopka, and he just overtook the white KTM, which means Miro Konopka is in P3 overall right now, with 45 minutes to go. But the battle goes on. The battle goes on between these 2 cars into the 4th corner of the racetrack. Still Konopka in P3. Good job done by the Slovakian racing veteran. And I must say that Miro Konopka still has his team in various classes and various championships this year, and he's still very much enjoying also the GT3 racing, mostly in the Preventing Championship. So I'm again talking about the 24-hour series. There were some great results for the team this season. There was a podium finish for ARC Bratislava in Mugello earlier this year with the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 on the 22nd of March. It was a good race for the Slovakian outfit, and it was really great result for Miro Konopka and his companions because he won the race alongside his two sons, Matej Konopka and Adam Konopka, in GT3 M class. So it was a great end of March for Miro Konopka because his team took the top spot in Mugello after very long and demanding 12 hours race. And I was talking to Miro Konopka about the situation in Lamborghini, and he told me that he is very much enjoying the older car, the Huracan GT3, because it still has the screaming V10. And honestly speaking with you, he is not very excited for the new Temerario GT3. So I believe that we will have even more chances to see Miro Konopka racing behind the wheel of his Huracan GT3, because that's the car he enjoys the most if we speak about the GT3 class. But now, right now, here on Red Bull Ring, it is Miro Konopka in P3 behind the wheel of his Ligier. LMP3 still in P3. But now, there is a problem for Konopka. We do have the information from the race control. It's a drive-through penalty for Miro Konopka and his car number 44. And the reason is incorrect starting position. That's a strange thing, because we had the rolling start as usual. So I'm really interested what went wrong for Konopka at the start of the race. But this is of course a huge upset for the Slovakian driver, who needs to take a drive-through penalty for incorrect starting position. Very bad news for the Slovakian outfit from Bratislava. So Miro Konopka is going to lose his position for which he had fought bravely over the first 19 minutes of the race. So it's a shame for Miro Konopka, but still 41 minutes to go. But if he wants to win a D5 class, he can't lose time, and we still have the mandatory pit stop ahead of us. So it only means that Miro Konopka will have to enter the pit lane twice during this race, and that is going to cost him a lot of time. Not a good news for much experienced Slovakian driver. And there is a problem for car number 500. It's hard to see this. It is the beautiful Camaro from the United States with Robert Brandley behind the wheel, another competitor from Austrian GT, and quite obviously there is a problem to the car. So it is a retirement for Robert Brandley and his fascinating car entered by Diamond Racing Team, and that's the penalty I was talking about. So Miro Konopka is going through the pit lane because he has been given a drive-through penalty for incorrect starting position. What a shame for the Slovakian outfit. And of course, it's a huge time loss for the Slovakian racer. Here it is Thomas Ambil still behind the wheel of the Decane. And he still can't overtake the Mercedes AMG GT2 ahead of him. That's P5 and P6. Of course, the Mercedes is entered by RTR Projects. It's the car which is being shared by Ondřej Rokos and Petr Lisa. And we know this car also from GT2 European Championship from last year. So these are another drivers with multiple experience, not only from the Central European zone, but also from the European Championship. And here is another KTM. We do have two KTM Expo cars just ahead of Antonin Herbeck behind the wheel of his red Ferrari 488 GT3. You don't see the 488 GT3 very often these days because, of course, there is a new car prepared by Ferrari. It's the 296 GT3 Evo. So not only a new model, but also an Evo version of that new model, which is racing since 2026 season and already took a famous victory in 12 hours of Sebring in March. In case you didn't follow the Sebring this year, it was a great battle done by Antonio Fuoco, one of the Ferrari hypercar drivers, who was fighting hard to the very last lap of the race, and after 12 hours of hard racing he brought a first ever win for the 296 GT3 Evo on Sebring, so it was a huge news for Ferrari. But here in GT Cup Series this season, in the first race, we have no 296, but it's so great to watch this older car, because for many Ferrari fans the 488 GT3 was the nicest ever GT3 car ever made, and it's the last car produced by Ferrari with cooperation or in cooperation with Michelotto. The latest car, the 296, has been developed together with Oreca. So it's strange to say, but it's partly French, and I'm still speaking about Ferrari, of course. Right now, Antonin Herbeck driving his car in P10, and we have him in a GTX class, where he is in a 6th place. So it is a direct battle between him and the two other KTMs ahead of him for the 4th place within GTX class at the moment. The leader of the GTX class is also the overall leader of the race. It's still Marius Eigner leading the way with 36 minutes to go ahead of Denis Vashek. So these are the leaders of GTX and also GT3 classes. Miro Konopka again on the track, as you can see, behind the wheel of the yellow Ligier, and now he's chasing down the Decane of Thomas Ambil. And yes, this will be the battle for the first place in a D5 class, because these two drivers are battling each other with prototypes for the class win in a D5 category. So right now it's a battle for the first place in D5 class between Miro Konopka and Thomas Ambil. And Miro Konopka is trying to find his way ahead of the Decane, the D08, ahead of him. So let's stick with that battle for a moment, if we can, because this was a fight for the class win. And I believe that Miro Konopka is already ahead of Thomas Ambil at the moment. Yes, I am right. This is the overtaking maneuver on the main straight of Red Bull Ring, going into the first corner again. So Miro Konopka, after taking the penalty, is in the lead of the 5 class again, but we also have a yellow flag at the turn number 1 at the pit out. But I just didn't see any car standing there from the drone shot. But the main information is that the pit window is open, so we are just going to watch the pit stops. These are mandatory for all the cars on the track, and again we have the information about the drive-through, but that's been already served, I believe. Meanwhile, it's Konopka overtaking the Mercedes AMG GT2 of RTR Project. So Miro Konopka right now is in P4 overall. And let's wait and see who will be first to the pits for the mandatory pit stop at the halfway of the race. Konopka is just doing a great job. I believe he's a bit angry with the penalty. Most definitely he is going to discuss this situation with his team, what was actually wrong with his starting position. And we have one of the KTMs to the pit lane. It's number 789. That's the crew of Tomáš Miniberger and Dan Skalický. So yes, it is the number 789. Again, that's the exciting part of GT Cup endurance races, the driver change and the precise work of the mechanics in the pit lane. No tire change, only the driver change. And even if you do the race solo, you still need to pit and serve the mandatory pit stop. Oh no, there's a trouble. There is a trouble to the car of Denis Vashek. It's the BMW M4 GT3. And no, I believe that Denis Vashek just missed his pit. Oh no, it's a costly mistake. It's an unfortunate mistake done by experienced driver. Here you could see the right pit box where Denis Vashek should have stopped previously at the first time, just next to his Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo, waiting in the garage for tomorrow's sprint race, but he just didn't see his team. He just didn't see his team and he missed his pit box, so he had to be pushed back by the rest of the team. So this is a costly mistake. At the same time, we also have Antonín Herbeck in the pit lane with his beautiful red and white Ferrari 488 GT3, the car I was talking much about for many drivers and many fans, one of the most beautiful GT3 cars ever made. I just can't help myself. I'm so happy to have this car still racing on the track. Of course, we know Antonín Herbeck also for his previous times racing not less fascinating Pagani Zonda, but this proper GT3 car, that's something I believe we want to see in GT Cup Series. Meanwhile, still the ongoing pit stop in Trevor Racing Garage. That's the BMW of Denis Vashek and also Miro Konopka. Also Miro Konopka on the pit lane for his mandatory pit stop. You can see the refueling. Also the cleaning of the windshield. That's absolutely allowed. almost mandatory, I would say, because cleaning the front windshield, that's something you do for safety. And also some drink for refreshment for the experienced Slovakian driver. All the teams have to obey the rule of the minimum pit stop time, so there is a time also for the refreshment on the pit lane. And this is the cockpit of the purple KTM, number 26. That's another car entered by the Czech team RTR Projects. And Viktor Mraz from Slovakia is behind the wheel. Also very much familiar face within the GT Cup Series paddock. Less than half hour to go in the first endurance race of the 2026 GT Cup Series season. And the mandatory pit stops are almost done. So the second half of the race is just ahead of us. I believe we are still waiting for Marius Eigner to come in from the first place, and here we are again on the racetrack. The Mercedes AMG GT2 entered by RTR Projects. That's the crew of Ondřej Rokos and Petr Lissa. If you ever need a racing simulator at home, you should call this guy, because Petr Lissa, I believe he is world famous for producing a professional racing simulators for top customers all around the world. And believe me, I can't say a name, but also one of the most famous racing drivers nowadays belongs between the customers of Petr Lissa if we speak about producing and setting up of the professional racing simulators. So if you might be interested of having something like that at home, you should call Petr Lissa, because he knows how to do it. Two seconds time penalty for car number 99 for constant abusing of track limits. 99, that's Mercedes AMG GT4 of the crew of Pulic and Stefancic. That's the Slovakian, sorry, of course, it's the Slovenian crew of KK Konavle. And it's the car leading the GT4 class, but I believe this is not crucial for them, because they are the solo entry in a GT4 class in this GT Cup Series endurance race. So even with additional 2 seconds added at the end of the race, they are still going to win their class. So it's pretty much safe. And there's a driver working on his car. So I'm just wondering if there was a contact between this white KTM and the other car on track. But again, that's the benefit of mandatory minimum pit stop time. You just have a time to do it and to repair the bodywork safely with the tape. And of course you know that that the silver tape is the most powerful thing in the universe, so you can repair everything with the silver tape, including spaceship, race car, anything. So if you just have enough time, and you do in this case, you should be fine. With 25, or should I say still 26 minutes to go. Also, as you can see, the weather is going to be nice for tomorrow. We started today here on Red Bull Ring with a foggy morning after a strong terrestrial rain yesterday, but today it is clear sky and the most beautiful weather we should have tomorrow for the sprint race. So make sure you will be joining us also for tomorrow's 25 minutes long sprint race. It will be again very much exciting. And I believe the great day of great racing is just ahead of us also for tomorrow, with another 3 races of Formula 4 Central European Zone Championship, of another race of Clio Cup Bohemia race, and also of course with the sprint racing opener if we speak about the GT Cup series, which we are looking at right now. Another GT Cup car, the 911, number 2, that's the crew of Lach and Balavete, racing in GTC 1 class, and these guys are going after the class to win, so it could be a happy day for these guys also here on a Red Bull Ring. So I believe the mandatory pit stops at the halfway are done. Marius Eigner, even after the pit stop, still in the lead of the race, but more importantly, he is in the lead of the GTX class. Meanwhile, we do have a yellow flag at the turn number 3 for some reason. So maybe some cars spun around for a moment, but we are on the green again. So no need for a safety car, fortunately, because we enjoyed enough safety cars today with the Clio Cup Bohemia race, with the nasty crashes, but this race has been clear so far, and that's what we love to see, just a pure racing without any serious incidents. And I believe that for many of you this could be a nice warm-up for more GT racing, which awaits us tonight, because this is a huge weekend if we speak about GT racing. We already saw a third race of Nürburgring Langstreckenserien today, with an overall win for Schubert Motorsport BMW, and we are still getting ready for the season opener of GT World Challenge. At Paul Ricard, it will be a 6-hour race, the 1000 kilometers of Paul Ricard, starting later today, with 58 GT3 cars on the grid, including the Aston Martin crew, with Lance Stroll behind the wheel of the Vantage GT3 AMR Evo. So later today we are going to watch another Formula 1 driver driving a GT3 car for the first time ever in his career, and it is going to happen tonight on Paul Ricard. So I would just say that Max Verstappen is setting up a new trend. If there is a break from Formula 1, let's go and do a GT racing. And it's just lovely to watch. And of course, I can also mention that tomorrow we are going to watch the first race of the season of the European Le Mans series in Barcelona. So we are going to get also more prototype racing. Today we do have 3 LMP3 cars in this race, but tomorrow in Barcelona it will be something else, of course, with a large grid of LMP2, LMP3 and GT3 cars. So this is a great weekend for race fans. Meanwhile, going around Red Bull Ring with the purple KTM, and I believe that we are looking at the steering wheel of Victor Mraz with 20 minutes and 50 seconds to go in this race. Ho, nice traffic here at the final sector of Red Bull Ring. It was the BMW of Denis Waszek going through the inside line, and I believe it was a maneuver into the 9th corner, the Rindt corner here on Red Bull Ring. That's always exciting to see the things like that. And yeah, that's the spirit of endurance racing, the multi-class racing on the track with multiple categories racing each other. It's just lovely to watch for the fans. The same we are going to watch later tonight on Paul Ricard. The same we are going to watch also tomorrow in Barcelona. And I've said already that we have a free LMP3 cars in this race, and this is one of them actually. Beautiful French car with number 33. It is the Decane D08, the Decane previously known as Norma. And Thomas Ambil still behind the wheel, right now driving in P7 overall, but more importantly, he is in second place in D5 class. The leader of D5 class is Miro Konopka. He managed to retake the lead after he served his penalty of going through the pit lane for incorrect starting position, but he took the challenge and he retook the lead even before the mandatory pit stop. So good job done by Miro Konopka, who is in the lead of his class. And overall we have the Slovakian racer in a P2, 16 seconds behind the race leader Marius Eigner. But there is one important thing for Miro Konopka, and that is to hear the Slovakian national anthem after the race for winning the D5 class. And with every single lap done, he is getting closer and closer to accomplishing this target he has set for himself before the first race of GT Cup Series season here on Red Bull Ring. So Denis Waszek still behind the wheel of his BMW M4 GT3. On the other hand, he's going after the win in GT3 class, and I've told you already that it's been already a great Saturday for BMW Motorsport and BMW race fans in general, because the third race of Nürburgring Langstreckenserien has been won by Schubert Motorsport BMW M4 GT3, and it was another great race on Schleife. And the driving duties has been shared today between Marco Wittmann, Philipp Eng and Robin Franz. So these three very much experienced BMW factory drivers won the race today on Nürburgring. Three drivers with a lot of experiences also from DTM. And most likely the BMW is going to celebrate another race win today, later today, in the GT3 class of this race here on Red Bull Ring. Still 16 minutes to go. Denis Waszek is in P4 overall. There is a gap of 5 seconds between him and the Mercedes AMG GT2 just ahead of him. I would say that usually we could see Denis Waszek ahead of the Mercedes AMG GT2, but remember, there was a problem in the pit lane for Denis Waszek. He lost some time there because he missed his pit box and he had to be pushed back by the team members to the right pit box for the mandatory pit stop to be served. So I would say he could lose 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds there. So it was a costly mistake, but fortunately for Denis Waszek, he is the only racer in the GT3 class today, so he was not in danger. But still, it could be a good challenge for Denis Waszek to chase down the AMG GT2 car ahead of him and try to overtake it before the race is going to end. Meanwhile, nice battle of the two KTM cars. And I believe this is the fight for 5th and 6th place respectively in the overall standings, but more importantly this could be a fight for a final podium step in the GTX class, because in the 3rd place it is the RTR Projects car number 26 of the crew Mraz and Honzik, and behind them it is Max Grip driving the MZR Motorsport Centrum Reed KTM Expo GT2, also entered in GTX class, and these two cars we do have together on the racetrack following each other, so this might be a fight for the 3rd place in the GTX class and also for the 5th place in the overall standings of this race. It's all in the hands of Max Grip, who is trying to chase down the car ahead of him. And this is the other KTM, the quickest in this race, because Marius Eigner is just doing a great job here on Red Bull Ring, and he is just maintaining his lead since the lights were out. Another lap done by Marius Eigner. It was the lap number 28. Now going into the sunset. And again climbing up into the 3rd corner. This is the new chicane being used for MotoGP races. It has been built here on Red Bull Ring for the safety reasons, because you might remember that we had some nasty incidents in MotoGP races here on Red Bull Ring previously because of the high speed into the 3rd corner. So the Dorna, together with the circuit authorities, has decided to build a new chicane between the 1st and 3rd corner, and by doing so they made the MotoGP racing here on Red Bull Ring definitely safer, so a big kudos to them. It's also very important for everybody to have a Red Bull Ring on a MotoGP calendar, of course, because in MotoGP we do have the KTM, world famous Austrian brand, of course, producing not only motorbikes but also cars, as I mentioned many times already. Also the car in the lead of this race is also the KTM, but if I speak about KTM and motorbikes, this is the most important race for the Austrian brand, and each year we can see thousands and thousands of fans wearing the orange t-shirts just to support their home brand. So for KTM, Red Bull Ring is the place to be. Meanwhile, with 11.5 minutes to go in this race, it is Antonin Herbeck chasing down the KTM of RTR Projects. And yes, this could be a battle for the 5th place in GTX class. Antonin Herbeck trying to find his way ahead of the car of the crew of Miniberger and Skalitski. And another overtaking here. It was Denis Waszek, but it was not a battle for position. It was just Denis Waszek behind the wheel of his BMW M4 GT3 lapping a slower car, so not much excitement there. And that's the Mercedes AMG GT2 entered by RTR Projects, the crew of Andrei Lokos and Peter Lissa. And the driver is just doing everything he can to maintain the gap between him and Denis Waszek in P4. And actually, to be honest, Denis Waszek is not getting closer, actually. Still almost 7 seconds between Waszek's BMW and the and the Mercedes ahead. So it's a safe position for KTM, number 294. And it is the 294 car which is in the lead of the GTX class. So it is starting to look really promising for RTR projects in this race, because they should take at last one class win from the first endurance race of the 2026 season of the GT Cup Series. So the MG GT2 lapping another slower car. That was the KTM Expo GT4 in the white colors. That's actually the second car in the GT4 standings. But it is farther divided between the Central European Zone Championship and the Austrian GD. So within Austrian GD, not this one, but the previous white KTM, the GT4 car should be in the lead of the GT4 class within the Austrian GT. So I believe I have explained this to you. Because if we speak about the GT4 class within the GT Cup Series, the leader is Mercedes-AMG GT4 number 99, lapping overall in P19 at the moment. That's the car entered by AK Konavle Racing. So less than 8 minutes to go in this race, in the season opener here on Red Bull Ring. Yes, and this is the white KTM GT4 car I've been talking about. We can see it again thanks to Denis Waszek and his strong pace. And for me it's always just fascinating to watch the BMW M4 GT3. Not everybody was excited about the car design, I know that very well, but I am among those who just love this car, and there are some iconic colors to this car already. For example, I believe you've already seen the 2026 colors of these BMW cars for DTM season. We are going to have some quite unique shell reunion in the championship, so there will be more fascinating colors for BMW M4 GT3. Kelvin van der Linde should be carrying those colors in DTM on his car entered by Schubert Motorsport, and yes, there is a great connection also between this weekend on Red Bull Ring and the season opener of DTM, because it starts here in just 2 weeks, and the official tests for DTM will take place just next week here in Styria, Austria. So the racing calendar here on Red Bull Ring is quite busy, I would say. The DTM using the GT. Oh no, it's Konopka! Konopka spinning around in the last corner of the race. Oh my god, what is going on here with 5 minutes to go? Miro Konopka spun around his Ligier LMP3 car, and I believe there is some carbon fiber debris in the last corner from the Ligier of Miro Konopka. We still have a double yellow for some reason in the last corner of the racetrack with 5 minutes to go. So It was a peaceful finish of the race, but it is no more actually. We do have again a more excitement here on Red Bull Ring, so I can't tell you more about DTM at the moment because something has happened in the last corner of the racetrack here on Red Bull Ring. The Konopka's car is fine and the double yellow is gone, so I believe it was only for Miro's car. Let's look at the incident again. It's Miro Konopka and one of the KTMs. Oh, that was close call between the Ligier and KTM, a GT4 car, I believe. Maybe Miro Konopka was hoping that the driver is going to leave him a space in the inside of the last corner, but that's not what has happened there. So it was almost a serious incident, but fortunately Miro Konopka has quick reactions and he managed to avoid a disaster with only 5 minutes to go in this race. My goodness me, it could have been huge. Just like the incident in the last corner during the race of Clio Cup Bohemia. But fortunately, Miro Konopka managed to brake quickly and he avoided the huge accident between his Ligier LMP3 car and the other KTM. I believe it was one of the KTM GT4 cars. We do have two in this race, and it was the older chassis, the older bodywork, so it was the GT4 cars, most definitely. You can see the difference between the GT4 Expo and the GT2 Expo. At the first look, you don't have to be an expert to witness the difference, so I believe it was one of the GT4 KTM Expo cars. And obviously, Miro Konopka just didn't expect the other driver to close the door like that, so it was a nasty situation. But fortunately, I believe nothing serious has happened there. 2.5 minutes to go. Miro Konopka still in the second place overall, still leading the D5 class. Of course, he can't lose much time because he is still in the battle for the first place in the D5 class. The second driver there is Thomas Ambiel driving in P5, and the gap between these two drivers is about 20 seconds right now. So Miro Konopka needs to be careful and focused to the checkered flag. He doesn't want to lose the first place after everything what happened to him in this race. He had to serve a penalty. He had to go through the pit lane for incorrect starting position. Then he managed to overtake Thomas Ambiel and retake the lead. Then he went for the mandatory pit stop, and after the pit stop he was really quick on the racetrack. Now the incident between him and the KTM GT4 car is under investigation, but I believe that this just could be a racing incident. It could be judged as a racing incident to me, you know. It was dramatic, but not that much actually. And in endurance racing, in multi-class racing, you just see hundreds and hundreds incidents like this one over the season, so I believe it could be closed as a racing incident. Meanwhile, Marius Eigner doing a great job lapping the white KTM and still leading the way in this race. 36 laps done already by Marius Eigner in this 1 hour long endurance race. And we have only 45 seconds to go in the season opener of 2026 GT Cup Series campaign. And this was some great pace displayed. I'm sorry, of course, some great pace displayed by the Austrian. doing a fantastic job on his home soil in the first race of the season. So this might be a last lap of the race actually, because the time will be up just before the checkered flag, but no, we are going to have most likely one more lap. It should be 1 hour plus 1 lap. So Marius Eigner should see the checkered flag next time around. We are just waiting for the confirmation. Also, there are 4 seconds penalty for car number 79 for abusing of track limits. That's Denis Waszek, but it shouldn't cause any harm to him and his race. So one more lap to go. One more lap to go. Maybe that's because we have started the race under the safety car, and in the first lap of the race we were not racing because we were under full course yellow. So there is additional 1 lap to this race. But nothing is going to stop Marius Eigner on his way to win this race overall, and also more importantly in the GTX class. This was a world-class driving done by the Austrian behind the wheel of his KTM Expo, entered by MZR Motorsport Centrum Ried. What a great job done by Marius Eigner here on Red Bull Ring, as he is going to take the checkered flag. Yes, officially, this is the last lap of the race, and we are looking at the race winner at the GTX class. The 2 last corners for the Austrian Marius Eigner here on Red Bull Ring, and he takes the checkered flag right now, flashing the lights, celebrating the race win. The first race win of the 2026 GT Cup Series season goes to Marius Eigner. What a great job done by the Austrian on Red Bull Ring here in Styria. So Marius Eigner wins the GTX class. Miro Konopka also takes the checkered flag, and he wins the D5 class with his Ligier LMP3 car. And we are waiting for more cars to cross the finish line. Takes the checkered flag. We also have the winner of GTO class. It goes to the crew of Dusik and Koffler, racing with KTM Expo GTX number 847. Also, Rokos and Lissa, the crew of Mercedes AMG GT2, takes the checkered flag, and taking the second place in GTX, Denis Waszek winning the GT3 class with his BMW M4 GT3. Thomas Ambil takes second place with his Decane D08 in D5 class behind the winning driver Miro Konopka. Max Grip in P6 taking the third place in GTX, again or ahead of the RDR Projects KTM in P4 in GTX. Antonio Herbeck in P5 in the GTX class with his Ferrari 488 GT3. Miniberger and Skalitsky takes P6 in GTX. Franz Lama wins the D1 Key 3 class with his Porsche 992. Bob Bauer wins the GTC 1 class with his Porsche 991 Cup. Rupert Weisenlehrer in second place in the Key 3 class. Kokola and Yannick takes P3 in a D5 class with their Norma M20. Then it is the crew of Lach and Balawader with Porsche 991 Cup. Takes second place in a GTC 1 class, just ahead of the family crew of Robert Lucak and Robert Lucak Mladší, taking P3 in GTC 1 class. So also congratulations to Father and Son crew in this race. Second place in GTO goes to Apple Racing KTM Expo number 820. Then it is Richard Woschitz taking the win in a K2 class. Bilic and Stefancic winning the GT4 class in Central European Zone Championship. The another crew of Bruckner takes P3 in GTO. Franz Leitner wins the GT4 class within the Austrian GT. And Robert Brandley and Gerald Hofer did not finish the race. So we are ready for the final results. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us for the season opener here on Red Bull Ring. And as I mentioned previously, tomorrow we are going to watch and cheer for the first sprint race of the GT Cup 2026 season. So make sure you are joining us also for tomorrow. Thank you so much for being with us and enjoy the rest of Saturday.